And we're live. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, welcome everybody to this meeting of the Aberdeenshire Licensing Board. Can members please activate their cameras where possible? And can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking? And please do not come in during items unless you're invited to do so. Can I confirm that all members have been able to access the papers for today's meeting in advance? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And obviously, if members wish to come in at any point, use your hands up function in the Teams meeting. And if you've dialed in, you can raise your hand by pressing *5. But I think we're all in on the Teams. If any members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the Deputy Clerk by separate Teams message if possible. And support today is available from David Angel in ICT during the meeting if required. So moving on to the first item on the agenda, we have the Sederant. Jill, I think you're taking that today.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have apologies from Councillor Goodall and Councillor Taylor, and I also have apologies from Keith Simpson, Senior Licensing Standard Officer. However, he advised that he may join the meeting later if he can. So, Mr. Stuart Adams.
Present.
Ms. Dawn Black.
Present.
Mr. Jeff Crowson.
Present.
Ms. Marion Ewanson.
Present.
Mr. Trevor Mason.
Present.
Mr. Richard Maynard.
Present.
Mrs. Jenny Nichol.
Present.
Miss Mel Sullivan.
Here.
And from Police Scotland, we have Constable Mitchell Dixon.
Here.
And Licensing Standards Officers Sarah Ward, Lisa Godini and Kevin MacDonald.
Yeah, present.
Present.
And myself, Jill Joss, Deputy Clerk. I've also got Fiona Stewart, Deputy Clerk. And some other licensing officers. We've got Clark Simpson and Harriet Tavendale, both paralegals. And we have some licensing other officers observing the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, it's Fiona Stewart here. I have the applicant for one of the personal licensing hearings in the lobby. I'm just going to admit him now. It's a public meeting, so he can be muted in the background listening until his item comes up. I'm just going to admit him just now, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's no problem. Thank you.
Good morning. Hello, Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker?
Yes, speaking.
Hello, you're now in the board meeting. I'm going to put you on mute until your item comes up. You'll need to use it's either *5 or *6 to unmute yourself at the time of your hearing, but I will remind you of that nearer the time. There are some items the board needs to consider before then. So you're now in the board meeting and I'm going to put you on mute. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Move on to declaration of members' interests. If members have an interest to declare, please clarify the item number, the nature of the declaration, and whether or not you will leave the meeting. I don't see any indications. Okay, so we move on to item 2, the resolution on equalities. Members, do we all agree to the resolution on equalities? Please open your microphones.
Yes,
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. The minute of the previous meeting is the next item. That was the meeting held on the 16th of August. So it's for approval as a correct record, obviously by members who were present. Can we agree that as a correct record? I think there's a couple of amendments to be made in the names. Jill, do you want to clarify?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Chair. A couple of the members' titles are incorrect, and we'll amend those and correct them before the minutes are published. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other than that, are we happy to approve the minute?
Approved.
Agree.
Okay.
Approved. Yeah.
Right, then move on to our first item today, item 4, applications for premises or provisional premises licenses, non-contentious. And we have one which is at Cruden Bay Post Office, 1 Main Street, Cruden Bay. Can I hand over to Deputy Clerk, please, to outline the terms of the application?
Thank you. This is an application for a provisional premises licence. The application is for off sales only, 10 AM to 10 PM Monday to Sunday, and the premises is a convenience store and post office. The licensing standard officer has recommended local conditions. There's a comment from planning, and we do have a section 50 certificate for this application, but the planning service seek a planning application for the extended area, and this application has been submitted by the applicant and will be resolved prior to the confirmation of the application. There's no specific conditions to the application, and the application is classed as non-contentious and is recommended for grant together with the local conditions as stated in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members have any questions?
No.
No. Any discussion required? I mean, the only question is around that planning application, but planning are happy that that will be resolved, so I think we can be content. So in terms of the recommendation at 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
And then in terms of the recommendation at 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Granted. Yes, I would agree. Thank you. So that application is granted. So we move to the second application, again non-contentious, and this time it's the Fife Arms Hotel, the Square, Turriff. So I'll hand over again to Deputy Clerk to outline the terms of the application, please.
Thank you, Chair. On this report, just to clarify, there's two applications. The Fife Arms, which you just mentioned, that's the second one, but I can go through that one first, and then we can go back to the bank, cafe, and restaurant. But I'll go through the Fife Arms Hotel first. So this is an application for a major variation, and the application is seeking to add outdoor drinking facilities with the raised deck area, alfresco area, and outside pavement area. Add 10 serviceable letting rooms, amending the layout plan to delineate the accommodation as licensed areas. Add food and alcohol takeaway and deliveries. Add craft events to the activities. Increase the capacity of the restaurant to 75 and increase the overall capacity of the premises to reflect the outdoor drinking areas. Change the terms of entry and parts of the premises that children and young persons have access. Update the premises description. Update the license holder and premises manager's address. Update the licensing risk assessment. So in relation to responses received for this application, the Environmental Health Service made representations which are detailed on page 37, which have been attached as specific conditions. These were in relation to the outdoor drinking areas. The licensing standard officer also requested the licensing risk assessment to be updated and also recommended local conditions and specific conditions in relation to alcohol deliveries and internet sales. Police Scotland made a representation which requested specific conditions in relation to the outdoor area and the takeaway and delivery service, and sought that the operating plan was amended in relation to children and young persons access as narrated at page 38 of the report. The applicant provided an amended risk assessment, amended the operating plan as requested, and has accepted all the recommended conditions. The application is classed as non-contentious and is recommended for grant together with the conditions stated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and apologies for getting those in the wrong order. So in terms of the recommendation at 1.2a, does the board, oh sorry, does anybody have any questions first of all?
No.
No. So in terms of the recommendation at 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in terms of the recommendation at 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
A grant? Yes.
Grant.
Okay, thank you. And now we go back to the one we should have been at. It's because they're both in somewhere called the Square. I think I got turned 2 pages. This is the Bank, Cafe and Restaurant to the Square, Huntly this time. Jill, please.
Thank you. So, yes, this is another application for a major variation, and the application is seeking to extend into the building next door as shown on the layout plan. The new room would be utilised primarily as a function room for small private functions. This would have a capacity of 50 seated persons, bringing the total on-sales capacity of the premises to 100. The application is also seeking to amend the existing licence to include the ability to allow dancing and for sport to be shown on the television for sport-related functions. Also, the additional space may be utilised for additional restaurant seating seasonally during busy periods on a limited and ad hoc basis. And the application also seeks changes to the terms, times and parts of the premises that children and young persons have access to. These are extended to include the new function room. So in relation to responses received, Environmental Health Service recommended local condition 5 to be attached. The licensing standard officer recommended local conditions and made representations regarding the matrix of activities, the layout plan to reflect the seating arrangements, and the operating plan at question 6 to be updated so the times of access for under 18-year-olds are clear. Building standards advised that at the date of consultation, the building warrant application had not been approved and no completion certificate had been accepted. However, today this has now been resolved and the building warrant has been approved and the completion certificate has been accepted. Police Scotland had no comment to make on the application, and the application has accepted all the recommended conditions and made amendments to resolve the representations. So the application is classed as non-contentious and is recommended for grant together with the conditions stated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do members have any questions or any discussion? No. All seems quite straightforward. In terms of the recommendation at 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And then going on to the second recommendation, 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
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 Yes. So that application is also granted. Okay, thank you. We now move on to item 6, which is our first hearing for today. It's an application for a personal licence. The applicant is in the meeting and the representative from Police Scotland is appearing in the meeting, so I don't think we need to wait for them to be brought in. They are here. We just need to check with Mr. Parker that he can unmute.
Yes, I can.
Oh,
I'm here.
perfect. Okay, so the officer taking this report will be the Deputy Clerk, Jill Joss. Nobody's declared an interest, so we can go on. Everybody present for the hearing. Everybody's in. So it's straight to the Deputy Clerk to confirm the procedure for the hearing, please.
Thank you. This is an application for a personal licence for Ben Parker. Members may recall that this application was deferred from the last meeting of the board on the 16th of August as the applicant was unable to attend. The application is before the board today because the Chief Constable lodged a notice in terms of section 73(3)(b) of the Licensing Scotland Act 2005. The Chief Constable advised that the applicant has been convicted of a relevant offence, and in terms of section 73(4) of the Act, the Chief Constable has not made a recommendation in the notice that he considered it necessary for the purposes of any of the licensing objectives that the application should be refused. In terms of procedure, members will see this from page 82 of their report. Members will hear firstly from the applicant, then from Police Scotland, then the applicant will have a chance to respond. There'll then be an opportunity for any questions of all parties, followed by summing up, and the board will have an opportunity to adjourn for legal advice if required before debate and a decision is made. Of course, if the board determines that there's not sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision, the application can be deferred to a future meeting of the board for further evidence to be obtained. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So can I just confirm that the applicant is present? So Ben Parker, just confirm you're still with us, yes?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information?
I am, yes.
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 And then can I confirm that Constable Mitch Dixon from Police Scotland is present?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
And can I just confirm that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the application?
Yes, correct.
So in line with the guidance that you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphones when not speaking? If your phone permits this, please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. And if you do, I may have to ask you to leave the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and we can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting will be restarted. So just, I think all microphones are muted at the moment. Ben, if you're ready, I'm going to invite you first to speak to your application and just outline for the members the terms of your application for a personal licence.
Yes, happily. Thank you very much for letting me come to the meeting today. Yes, it's just that I was looking to get the personal license just as a matter of the duty. It's just recently gotten its 2 o'clock license through, and with that comes a stipulation of we need a licensed premises holder on premises up until 2 o'clock. Now, with me not having that and being a senior member of staff, and being a key holder, it would be very enabling to have that instead of me not being able to be that person. It's overworking other staff. And just for future, if I ever need anything again, I completely understand how my charge from previously is relevant, but it was a very silly thing to do a few years ago, and I'm a very different person now, and I feel like I'm a very upstanding person and haven't done anything of the likes before or since then. So that's all I can have to say.
Okay, thank you. Can I now ask Constable Dixon to speak to the police representation, please?
Yeah, so as the members will see from the representation submitted by or on behalf of the Chief Constable, the applicant's been convicted of a relevant offence, being Section 5(1)(a) of the Road Traffic Act, which is drink driving, for which he was convicted in September 2022. The applicants or the circumstances that were narrated in the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal has been provided in the Chief Constable's representation. There's been no specific recommendation made by the Chief Constable in relation to the application other than to notify that there's been a relevant offence and the circumstances of said relevant offence for the board to make their decision in relation to the application. So with regards to the appendix that's been provided by the police, you can see that the incident occurred in the early hours of the morning in May 2021, where the applicant has lost control of a motor vehicle and later contacted Police Scotland to falsely report information regarding a stolen motorcycle. Subsequent police inquiry established that the applicant was untruthful in relation to the circumstances in which he contacted the police, and later it was established that he'd actually been driving whilst under the influence of alcohol above the prescribed limit for which he was convicted for said drink driving offence. There's 2 parts in relation to that. for the police. The first being the actual conviction itself, driving over the prescribed limit. Obviously, the police can speak to the fact that the applicant did eventually cooperate with the officer's procedure. He responded to the section 172 requirement, which is a requirement in road traffic law, and identified himself as the driver, and thereafter complied with the police station procedure in relation to drink driving, which involved taking blood. As you can see, the prescribed limit for blood is 50 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood, and the applicant came back with 73 milligrams. The second part of it would be the dishonesty to the police in the first instance. However, the officers have taken the decision not to pursue a charge of attempting to pervert the course of justice, given the applicant's cooperation with the inquiry thereafter. So that's the full circumstances of the offence. It is relevant to the licensable activity. The Chief Constable decided to make no recommendation on refusal and allow the board to make their decision based on the facts that they've been presented with.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to go back to Mr. Parker there. Do you want to respond to any submission made by PC Mitchell? Sorry, PC Dixon.
Yes, I have no issue with anything that he said. It is all true, but it's a very big mistake. The only bit I would like to just come to is the untruthfulness and the false psychology. That was a very much in the moment thing, very much under the influence. Where you hear me cooperating is they had actually taken me home, and I'd slept for a bit, woken up more sober, and then therefore me as an actual person, very cooperative, very happy to just go along and listen to what the police were telling me to do. It was completely a drunken mistake of the phone call and non-truthfulness, and it was just a mistake. And thank you. So.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to cross to the board members to ask if they have any questions for either party. I see hands up. Mr. Adams, please.
Hi, thank you. Question to Mr. Parker. Did you leave the scene of the accident prior to the police arrival? And you managed to find your way back to Inverurie, yeah?
Yes, but none of which I can remember. I don't even remember getting in the car.
And the evening of your incident or prior to it, maybe just give the board a bit of an insight as to the lead up to the incident. Thank you.
So the lead up to the incident was purely I was drinking at my brother's house out in Kintore for his birthday, had quite a lot. My sister-in-law at the time was pregnant, therefore sober, took me home. And I had a friend in Old Meldrum who was obviously, we're kind of in lockdown in Thingway. They were having quite a tough time, and I had been stupidly and obnoxiously, I got in the car to kind of try and go see them. That's why the crash was out in Old Meldrum at that first roundabout.
Thank you.
No
Okay.
problem.
Question now from Ms. Sullivan.
Right, just could you explain the discrepancy between your submission that you had a 9-month ban and the police submission that you had a 12-month ban, please?
Yes, I do. Sorry for that. You're correct. I was sentenced to a 12-month ban, but I did the course, the alcohol and driving course, to take that down to 9 months. So therefore, that's just what I submitted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members have questions? I'll come back to PC Mitchell, but it's members' questions just now. Mr. Menard, please.
Yeah, it's just a question for the applicant. Why did you report to the police that you had a stolen your motorcycle was stolen, and then subsequently, you know, it was found left at in your premises?
Yes, that was again, just far too much alcohol, very drunkenly. I believe it was just pure confusion. I assume in a drunken state, I attempted to try and cover up the fact that I had driven my car, went to phone the police to say the car had been stolen, but seeing as I had a motorcycle, because between the ages of 16 and 17, I had my CBT license. So I assume that I got confused being that drunk, phoned in the motorbike instead of the car. Because at the time, I didn't actually have a driver's license, or I was very new to having the car, so I just got confused.
Mhm. And this was at the time of lockdown, I believe, yeah?
Yes, it was, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question as well for you, Mr. Parker. You mentioned that you were a senior member of staff in the premises in Inverurie. How long have you worked there and held that position?
I have worked at the Juicy Laird in Inverurie for, I want to say, 4 years now. No,
And what's-
I left school, work experience there, and I've been there ever since.
Okay. What's your senior position there?
So I am as if I'm a manager of like customer relations. Guess what I mean? It's the
Okay.
difficulty of not really having specific titles, but I'm in a part of the management team.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other questions from members. Mr. Adams, please.
A question for Mr. Parker again. Can you maybe just expand a little bit on your closing up type role and who does it presently and in which capacity you assist? Thank you.
No, of course. So I'm a key holder and also kind of know the security code. Who does it currently is our general manager Natalie Mackey, who is personal licensed, but she is currently pregnant, going to be going off in January. So we need to get somebody else, which is why we've gone through getting some personal license for other members of staff. We had one for an Ashley Eden. I don't know if you got that through, but she is actually stopped working for us now. So we're through in the middle of just trying to get other ones through.
Thank you.
Okay,
No problem.
thank you. Right, I don't see any further questions from members. So in that case, we can move to concluding remarks. We'll start with PC Dixon. Obviously, you can't introduce any new evidence here, but just if you want to say anything in closing, and I noticed you did have your hand up indicating to speak.
Yeah, thank you. It was just to clarify the applicant's point regarding the course. That would be correct in relation to the discount in the sentence received after completion of the drink driver awareness course. So it was to clarify his point there and to corroborate it, that it's correct. Closing remarks from the police. Again, the evidence has been provided for the board to make a decision. The Chief Constable has decided not to make a recommendation in this instance and allow the board to review the evidence that's been presented by the police for the circumstances of the offence that the applicant's been convicted of, and also to hear from the applicant himself to provide further explanation to thereafter make a decision. So the police got no further comment to make and will allow the board to come to their own conclusion.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Parker, do you want to say anything in closing?
No, I believe I've said everything I want to say. I've kind of answered no questions. Just it would be really helpful, but that's all about it. No, but I'm happy to leave that there.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask board members if you require any legal advice from the clerk? No. Okay. In that case, can I just get the deputy clerk to outline the terms of the legal test for the application?
Thank you. Thank you. So the legal test can be found in Appendix 3, starting at page 65. And I'll just summarise this. So at a hearing, the board must, having regard to the Chief Constable's notice and any information provided, if satisfied that a ground of refusal applies, refuse the application, or if not so satisfied, grant the application. and the grounds for refusal are, firstly, that having regard to the licensing objectives, the applicant is not a fit and proper person to be the holder of a licence, or that it is otherwise necessary to refuse the application for the purposes of any of the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the board didn't require any further legal advice, so I presume we're not seeking time to deliberate out with the meeting? No. So in that case, board members, I open the matter for debate. No comments to make. Councillor Mason, Mr. Mason, please.
Yes. Yeah, I can't see any issue here that to say that he's not fit and proper person. The chief superintendent report has not recommended any to refuse the application. I think it's my idea that we should go ahead with granting the application for a personal license.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? I think I would echo Mr. Mason's comments there, based on the fact that the applicant has worked within the business for a number of years, and there is no recommendation from Police Scotland otherwise. Mr. Adams, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I find myself slightly different, well, polar opposite actually. We've got 5 licensing objectives that underpin the 2005 Act. We know that that's preventing crime and disorder, securing public safety, preventing public nuisance, protecting and improving public health, and also children and young persons from harm. And I find that I have trouble reconciling all 5 with Mr. Parker, especially the nature of the crime, the concealment, and the fact that we were in lockdown at the time. I feel presently I cannot support the issue of the licence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I just clarify that issue with somebody that lockdown? I mean, it was 2021. I can't remember what the restrictions were at that point. That's maybe a question for PC Dixon.
It's something that I would have to review at what stage of the process we were at for that period. I mean, lockdown started in 2019 for a period of
2020.
I thought it was the end of 2019,
No,
December, was it not?
March the 23rd, 2020.
March, was it? Okay, I would have to check the when the legislation. I mean, the difficulty being as well that the police's enforcement of the legislation changed over the period where lockdown had went from an advisory position to being enforced under legislation. So without actually researching and knowing exactly what point we were at that time, I wouldn't be able to give you an answer, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Menard, please.
Yes, it's just to agree with Councillor Adams on all counts. I find this very difficult to grant a licence at this stage. Sorry.
Do you want to specify?
Basically along the same lines as Mr. Adams there. The deceit, the breaking of the law, and regardless of what the gentleman's saying, he must have had some sort of clarity to be able to ring the police and state that he'd had his motorcycle lost and the rest of it, and then turn around and say later on, I was too drunk, I don't remember. Yeah, no, doesn't wash with me, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Miss Sullivan, please.
Hey, I have the lockdown rules at that time in Scotland, so it wasn't breaking it. Up to 6 people from 3 houses could socialise indoors, so that wouldn't have been a problem. Other than that, I think he was displayed poor judgment at the time, but seeing that he didn't go to a venue intending to drink and then drive, he was driven home, and then in his drunken state did something ill-advised. I'm picking my words. I think I would, on balance, support his application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Black, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been thinking long and hard about this, and I would echo Ms. Sullivan in now that we have heard, the full account of the events of the evening when the offence took place, that he was driven home and then, in reaction to something else that happened, got in his car. It was very ill-advised, and he has already said, that it was in the drunken state. And from what he has also said, he hasn't done anything like this since. On balance, I would say that he has, he's maintained that employment for 4 years. He's obviously a trusted member of the establishment. It would seem that he hasn't come forward to ask for this necessarily off his own back. He's been asked to do it by his employers to ease the situation at work. So on balance, I would say to grant in this instance.
Okay, thank you. So if members feel that they've received sufficient evidence, I think we could call for a motion at this stage, because I'm hearing views from members already. Have we had sufficient evidence on which to base our determination?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so. So at this stage, I would call for a motion.
I'm happy to raise a motion to grant.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you a seconder?
Yeah, I would second that. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to expand on that? You want to qualify why you would grant the application?
Do you need me to say anything over and above what I already said?
I'll go to Jill.
I think perhaps just on the grounds that none of the, you're satisfied that no grounds of refusal apply, so you would be happy to grant the licence.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an amendment, Mr. Menard?
Yeah, I would like to make an amendment saying that the applicant is not a fit and proper person on the grounds that have been laid down previously by by Mr. Adams and myself.
Okay, is there a seconder for that amendment? Mr. Adams?
Yes, I would amend that and add that the unfit person to hold such a license is not critical to his business. There are other people doing it presently, and there would be other people that are capable of doing it going forward. And in granting this, that we would actually not be upholding our 5 license objectives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, perhaps
Jill?
Perhaps if I can come in, yeah. So the ground that you'd be looking to refuse this on is that you're satisfied that having regard to the licensing objectives, the applicant is not a fit and proper person to be the holder of a personal licence. You want to refuse the application. I would ask that if you refer to which licensing objectives you would be looking to tie this into.
All of them. All 5, I said.
All 5 licensing objectives. And just also, I think if it may also be helpful if you can just confirm the reasons. I think obviously Councillor Sullivan explained that the position regarding COVID. I'm sorry, yeah, that wasn't during lockdown, so I don't know if you want to remove that part that was previously mentioned.
No, I still think that you went to another person's home during COVID in a complication. Okay. So the fifth one, rather than being directly linked to COVID, I would just say that he was in an unfit condition to be doing that at that time of night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are those conditions clear, Jill? The reasoning?
I think I probably would just prefer if they could just to go through them one more time. So I've got satisfied that having regard to all 5 licensing objectives, the applicant is not a fit and proper person to be the holder of a personal license, therefore refuse the application. But it would just be useful just to confirm the reasons again. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Menard, it's with you. You're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, I'm finding it difficult to find the right wording and the correct wording for it. Like I say, the applicant has clearly set out to deceive the police with regards to that. His thing, his application. Like I say, the list goes on and on and on, and I really just cannot find the right words to sum it up, to be honest with you.
I think Ms. Stewart could maybe help us.
Yeah, I've been taking extensive notes, and just to quote back what Councillor Adams said earlier, that he had a polar opposite view regarding the 5 licensing objectives, which he quoted was having trouble reconciling all 5 with Mr. Parker, particularly the nature of the crime, the concealment. He couldn't support a grant. And then Mr. Maynard came in and said he agreed with Councillor Adams on all counts. He was finding it difficult to grant a licence at this stage due to deceit, the breaking of the law, and regardless of what the gentleman had said, he must have had some kind of clarity to report the motorcycle stolen and then to turn around and say that he couldn't remember, didn't wash with him. So that may perhaps assist both members in providing the reasoning for their amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. That is exactly what I would like to say, and thank you for that. That sets it out exactly what I would like to say. Thank you.
So that's deceit and breaking of the law, and that you found the police view more believable than the applicant's view regarding the reporting of the motorcycle.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Yes.
Mr. Adams, do you agree with that, adding in your position regarding the 5 licensing objectives?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So in that case, I'll just get the Deputy Clerk to confirm the motion and the amendment, and then we'll move to the vote.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. So we have a motion with Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Mason, to grant the personal licence on the grounds that no reasons of refusal apply, and sorry, no grounds of refusal apply. And I have an amendment with Councillor Maynard, seconded by Councillor Adam, which is to have in regard to the licensing objectives, and in this case it's all 5 licensing objectives. The applicant is not a fit and proper person to be the holder of a personal licence, therefore refuse the application for the reasons given. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I see Ms. Stewart, you want to come back in?
My apologies, legacy hand.
Okay, you're allowed those. In that case, can we move to the vote, please?
Thank you. So I'll move to the vote now, and if members can please either advise motion or amendment. So Mr. Adams.
Amendment.
Ms. Dawn Black.
Motion.
Mr. Jeff Crowson.
Motion.
Ms. Marion Ewanson.
Motion.
Mr. Jeff Goodall.
He's
sorry,
absent.
apologies. He's not present today. Apologies, Chair. Mr. Trevor Mason.
Motion.
Mr. Richard Maynard.
Amendment.
Mrs. Jenny Nichol,
Motion.
Mrs. Miles Sullivan,
Motion.
so I have 6 votes for the motion and 2 for the amendment. So the motion is carried and the personal licence is granted today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Parker, your licence has been granted. You can stay in the meeting if you wish, but you can easily leave the meeting now. Thank you for attending today. I can just confirm that the hearing has concluded. And the Deputy Clerk will confirm the position before we progress to the next item on the agenda. So, are you leaving the meeting, Mr. Parker?
I have Mr. Parker on mute, so he'll need to unmute
All
his
right,
phone.
okay. Are you able to unmute?
And it would be either
No.
*5 or *6 to
Yeah.
unmute Mr. Parker. Convener, it's a public meeting, so Mr. Parker's
Yeah.
free to stay.
Yes, he can stay on until he gets his phone sorted out. Right, so we now move on to item 7, which is an application for a personal licence. Again, it's a hearing. The applicant is Chelsea Brown and the officer taking the report is Jill Joss, and I believe the applicant is not attending today. She has submitted a written submission to the board prior to the meeting. So that's confirmed, is it, Jill? She's not in attendance.
Yes, thank you. That's correct. She's confirmed
Okay.
she's not attending, and you'll see her
Okay.
different submissions.
And we have PC Dixon with us from Police Scotland. Just confirm that you're in attendance.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Can I also just get the board to confirm that they're happy to proceed in the applicant's absence? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. She's had the chance to appear and has chosen to put in a written submission instead. So I think she has had the opportunity. And Constable Dixon is present. So the statement on public participant meeting protocol for the licensing board hearings. Just can you mute your microphone when not speaking? And please do not speak unless I invite you to do so. And do not interrupt any other speakers, or I may ask you to leave the meeting. And once you've been asked to make your concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Okay, and we may need to adjourn at some point, in which case the recording would be paused and the board will require a separate online meeting room. And just please wait in the main meeting until the board members return and the recording will be restarted. So the applicant isn't with us, so I can go straight to Constable Dixon to speak to Police Scotland's representation, please.
Sure, no problem. In relation to the recommendation that's been made by the Chief Constable, as you can see by the representation that's been made in your submissions, that the offence was a common law assault ×2, for which the applicant was convicted at Peterhead Sheriff Court in August 2021. The details of the offence that were committed at the time shows that the applicant was within a licensed premises. She's approached a female patron, grabbed her by the throat, which was witnessed by a member of door staff. The door staff have approached the applicant and removed her from the premises, and whilst she's being removed, she has assaulted another female, attempted to pull her along the street, and has shouted at the victims that you are a dead woman. And as such, the applicant was convicted of common law assault ×2. The recommendation from the Chief Constable in relation to this application is that the board refuse the application in terms of section 73(4) of the Act. Because the violence was committed within a licensed premises, it's relevant to the licensable activity for which she's applying for. And the refusal is based on the licensing objective of preventing crime and disorder.
Okay, thank you. So applicant's not with us, so have we any questions for PC Dixon? Ms. Sullivan?
Is it possible to confirm whether or not these were family members that were assaulted? Or strangers or acquaintances?
I mean, I could read the police report to see if any more information has been provided. The response given on behalf of the Chief Constable is just given us a brief précis surrounding the circumstances in relation to the applicant's relationship to the victims. I could read the police report if I would need probably about 10 minutes to do so, but I can do that from here.
Is that something that members feel we need to hear? Ms.
No
Black,
objection
please.
to that.
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful, just to confirm the story that we've been given in the written submission.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Agreed.
Any other members want to comment on that? So it's really just around this point of clarifying where the victims are actually family members. So,
Or acquaintances, or were they strangers? Because I think there's quite a degree of difference between assaulting someone you have prior dealings with and just randomly assaulting a stranger in a bar. So the degree of acquaintance is what I would like to be established, if possible.
okay. Are members all in agreement that we need to hear that information? We've heard from Ms. Black.
No objection.
Okay. Now PC Mitchell's saying that it would take 10 minutes. So I wonder if we can defer this item until the end of the meeting to give PC Dixon time to find that information, and we could progress with the next item in the meantime. Members happy to do that?
Agree.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that the alternative is a comfort break, but I'm not desperate. It's fine.
No. How do members? I mean, we've only been going about less than an hour today. I wouldn't be looking at a comfort break just quite yet. Are we okay then just to go on to item 8 in the meantime, and then we can go back to item 7 with the information? Okay. So if we move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the update on the review of policy, and it's Fiona Stewart, officer, who's taken us through this report. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I also have Clark Simpson, our paralegal, in the meeting, who has done a lot of work behind the scenes on analysing the responses that have come in as a result of the consultation. We're almost there, board members. This is the final update report highlighting the compliance with the timeline for review, bringing you all of the responses that have been made to the formal consultation exercise on your draft policy. Also the engaged survey report based on those responses, and perhaps most importantly, Appendix 4 to your report gives a summary of the comments that were made through the consultation. Those shaded in red we are rejecting because we have no powers to do anything with them. Those shaded in green are supportive of the changes that the board has made to the policy. Those that are shaded in yellow are things that we are working through, and we may or may not be able to incorporate those comments into the licensing policy statement as a result. So if there's any questions, happy to answer those. And as I say, Clark is here today. I would also like the board to consider whether you wish an informal development session to go through the terms of the final draft before you meet on the 25th of October to hopefully agree the policy, and if so, to agree a suitable date and time, which we can do after, but to be cognizant of the fact that the council's about to go into 2-week recess for the October break, and it would impact on that, unfortunately. But we have to have a policy in place by 1st of November this year, so we have no more time. So unfortunately, if you do wish that, it will impact on the October recess. To note that officers will be meeting with Police Scotland and the Licensing Standards officers on the 9th of October to consider the revised local conditions for occasional licences, to hopefully ensure that there is consensus between all parties in using those to recommend for occasional licences moving forward. Note that unfortunately we've not been able to hold an engagement session with the licensed trade but prior to determining the final policy. However, all members of the trade were sent individual emails asking them to contribute to the consultation, and I can say that of the 32 responses received, most of those were either premises licence holders, personal licence holders or occasional licence holders, so they have been involved in the consultation process. What we intend to do now is in late November hold information sessions between the board and the trade to say what's changed, why it's changed and how it will affect them, and we'll bring you more details of that in due course. We'd also ask the board to instruct officers to review the responses made during the consultation regarding the reinstatement of the Aberdeenshire Licensing Forum, and to make a proposal for you to consider on the 25th of October with a view to you making recommendations to the Business Services Committee of Aberdeenshire Council regarding how we proceed regarding the forum. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. We're slightly disappointed at the low number of responses. I am really pleased at the number of community councils that responded after the engagement exercises we did with the community councils across Aberdeenshire, and their responses have been mostly positive, which I'm very encouraged by. As Chair, I won't say any more. The evidence is in the report. I'm happy to discuss anything that you wish to discuss, and Clark has answers on specific details if needed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. A lot of information in that report, but as you say, we're nearly there. Any comments or questions from members? We've been asked specifically as well about a development session sometime before the 25th of October. We need to get your views on that. Mr. Menard, please.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate Fiona and the team for the amount of hard work they've put into this consultation and everything else. It is a bit sad we haven't had a more input from the greater public, but hey ho. No, like I say, I think we need to have an informal session regarding this later on, because it's an important document, and I think, like I say, we should go through it with a bit more scrutiny. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nicholl?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I would agree on this session. I think that would be a good idea. Again, thanks to Fiona and to Clark and to all the team who have brought this forward. The only one I thought I might comment on was question 67, page 505, which was on over-provision. I just thought it was interesting that there was a lot of don't knows. 53.8% weren't sure on, they didn't agree with the measures being put forward by the board. And I don't know if that's really that they don't know, or is it that they don't understand and are confused by the over-provision. And I thought that could be an interesting thing to develop when we do the sessions with the public, so that to make sure that they're understanding that, because we can't be clear what that don't know means. But that was my only point on that. Thanks. Thank you very much, Fiona.
Thank you, and we'll certainly take that on board. I think it's a good point to make. I do think there is a lack of understanding out there, and we did give background information on the Engage platform, but if people are not as embedded in the system as we are, it can be very confusing. So I really appreciate that point. It's well made.
Yeah, I would echo that one as well. I think over provision is the most difficult thing to get your head round on so many levels. Okay, no other points or questions, Mr. Menard? Oh no, that was a hand up and down. So I think we're saying yes to trying to organise an informal session. I'm wondering from the point of view of being in recess, because the other meeting's in the second week, if we try and also have the informal session in the second week, leaves the first week totally clear.
Yeah, and I think that would be my recommendation, Chair, because it gives us longer to get the paperwork put together for you as well, so that you've got as much, as we can possibly give you. So if the board's on the Wednesday, that would then be either on the Monday or the Tuesday. But
Yeah.
I'll if the board's in agreement, I'll put an email round and we'll establish a date and a time that will be best suited for the board.
Okay, and I think we'll just realise at this point there is no date that everybody's going to manage. We'll just have to go with the majority. Yeah. So we're being asked then to look at the recommendations. 1.21, note the updated timeline for the review contained in Appendix 1 of the report. 1.2.2, consider and comment on the responses to the consultation exercise contained in Appendices 2 and 4. 1.23, consider whether members wish an informal development session. Well, we've agreed that we would like to do that. It would be beneficial, and we'll set a suitable date and time. Note that a meeting to discuss the revised local conditions for occasional licences will be held with the police and our LSOs on the 9th of October. So that's obviously just coming up. Also note that the information sessions with the licensed trade will be held in November. Okay. And 1.2.6, authorise officers to review the responses made relating to the re-establishment of the Aberdeenshire Licensing Forum and submit a proposal to the board for consideration at the meeting on the 25th of October. So I think we're all agreed that we would like to see the forum re-established. It's a case of spreading the word and creating interest, and I think that's something we can all be actively involved in. Okay, so
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and thank you, Fiona. And again, just to echo the thoughts of members, and we appreciate the hours and hours of work that goes into presenting a review like this, and the amount of work that goes into developing our policy. Thank you. So we can now move back to item 7, which was our hearing for a personal licence application. And we'd I'll just open that paper again. We had paused because we wanted to find more information from Police Scotland to give us the information on whether or not these assaults were in fact family members or otherwise. And I think PC Mitchell, if I can go straight to you, you would have that information now.
Yeah, that's correct. So I've had a look at the police report, and it confirms that the first female that the applicant assaulted was not known to the applicant. However, the second female was an acquaintance. That's how it's been summarised in the police report. The female that was dragged by the hair outside, she was an acquaintance, is how it's described in the police report. It doesn't give any further information other than that, but the first female is unknown to the accused. So the applicant in this instance. There's also a mention in remarks of the police report, should you wish to hear it. I don't know why this hasn't been included in the letter, but should you wish to hear it, it's likely relevant.
Okay, we need to ask members then if they wish to hear that additional information.
Yes, please.
Jill, is that
Chair,
in order? Oh, it's
if
Fiona.
I could come in there, that's information that the applicant has not had sight of and therefore has not had a chance to include in their written submissions. So if you are minded to hear it, I would be looking for a deferral to allow the applicant to respond to that, because it was not included in the initial letter in the interest of natural justice.
Okay, so in that case, our options are to proceed with the information we have today or defer for further information since it's not been in the applicant's domain. I see lots of hands going up. Mr. Adams?
Could I just confirm with PC Dixon that this information would have been read out to the applicant at court or subsequent to the charges?
The information I'm speaking about is police opinion, which is provided in remarks, which is provided to the fiscal, which again, police opinion, yes, is presented in court. And it's more what the police sought after conviction that's relevant, which again, the applicant would have been made aware of during criminal proceedings.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just go through the hands and then come back. Ms. Black?
Hi, yeah, I do think it would be relevant to us to hear it, even if it means we have to defer to the next board to give the applicant a chance to respond to it.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, we don't have enough information,
Yeah.
or I feel I don't have enough information to make a decision.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that at the moment. Mr. Crowson?
I would echo Councillor Black's opinion. I think just because it was maybe brought up at the court, the fact that it hasn't been obvious to the applicant that it's could be an issue just now doesn't give them a chance to decide whether they should respond or not.
Yeah.
So I would agree on a deferral.
Okay, just so the applicant is aware, that seems fair. Mr. Menard?
I'm in agreement with my other two colleagues there. I think, you know, we should hear it, and if necessary, we could defer.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nicholl?
Yes, I'm in agreement as well with my colleagues. I think that we should be deferring this so that we can hear the information and so that it's fair for the applicant as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mason?
Yeah, I do have a problem with anytime violence is used, but if more evidence is going to come to light, that's fine. I'll go along with the rest. Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Stewart, please.
I don't want to step on my colleague Jill's toes, but my advice would be you defer now. That information is provided by the police in writing, put to the applicant before the hearing, and you hear the evidence and the applicant and the police views on that evidence at the at the next hearing, rather than hear the remarks now. We're in a public forum, it's being recorded. It would not be right to do that without the applicant knowing what that information was in advance. So that would be my advice. I don't want to limit Jill on what she can say, but I certainly think it's quite a serious thing to proceed to hear the information without the applicant having knowledge of it first.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Chair, yeah, I think I totally agree with Fiona. I think, you know, if members want to see what the further information that's been raised, it has to go to the applicant in the interest of natural justice, and the board would have to defer for that.
Yeah.
Which we can do.
Okay, and I think although the applicant would have been aware of the information at court or where, she's not aware that we could see that information today, and that's the key for me. PC Dixon, please.
It's just clarification that the evidence I'm talking about isn't in relation to the offence, it's in relation to what the police sought on conviction. So the applicant would absolutely be aware that this is what the police were seeking on conviction of the crime for which she was convicted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Menard?
Yeah, I'd like to put forward a motion that we defer this on the grounds that we haven't got sufficient information to make a judgment.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't see it. I don't see a contrary view.
To second that.
I think that's I can take that as unanimous that we defer this application. We just agree to defer for further information.
Thank you, Chair. And perhaps the police can put the information in writing to us, the further information, and then we can send it on to the applicant so it can be included within the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Mr. Menard.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it would be an idea to try and get the applicant to attend personally as well. If we could try and do that,
yeah,
as an afterthought.
Well, they get the invitation, and it's up to them to decide. So maybe she'll have. I mean, she chose not to attend today. She may choose not to attend next time, but we will have more information. So I think it's a deferral, and I mean the next board is not until December. So, we'll get back to it then. Okay. Right, thank you. So we can now go to item 8, approval of the board dates for 2024-25. I'll be handing over to Jill. And I think the only debatable one was one of the dates coincides with the IJB, but none of the board members are on that committee. So the dates all look like they should be suitable, but it's across to Jill, please.
Thank you. So this report seeking the approval of the board to fix the dates of the board meetings for the committee cycle commencing 1st of May 2024 and ending on the 30th of April 2025, and these are set out in Appendix 1. So where possible, every effort has been made to avoid clashes with Aberdeenshire Council committees, the Business Services Licensing Subcommittee, the Local Review Body and the Integration Joint Board where possible, and efforts have also been made to avoid recess period where possible. We'll also be looking for members to note that any physical meetings will take place at Wood Hill House, Aberdeen, but that board meetings continue to be held virtually at the current time. All meetings will commence at 10:15 as they currently do, and to note that once approved, the dates of the board meetings will be published via Aberdeenshire Council's committee management system on the council's website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So members will take you to the recommendation just to agree the dates for the meetings, and note that any physical meetings will be in Wood Hill House. They're continuing virtually at the moment until we get absolutely everything sorted out in Wood Hill House, but there has been a huge amount of progress in recent weeks there. Note that all meetings commence at 10:15, and that once approved, the dates of the meetings will be published on the committee management system on the website. Mr. Mason, please.
I noticed the pre-meetings are all starting at 9 o'clock. Is that going to be? Because I noticed that well, this morning it was delayed until 9:15. Are we going to carry on with 9 o'clock or 9:15?
From my point of view as the chair, I would say 9:15 because most pre-meetings are at 9:15. It just kind of keeps us in line.
Yeah, so
but that's the pre-meetings aren't really the issue. It's the setting the dates.
Yes, I know. It was just listed on there. That's all.
Yeah. Ms. Stewart, please.
Happy to change it to 9:15. It's always traditionally been 9 o'clock for the board, but that's subject to change depending on the size of the agenda, and we seek the view of the convener at the pre-meeting the Monday of the week of the board, so it is always subject to change to be earlier or later depending on the convener's view, but happy to change that to 9:15. That's not an issue.
Okay, thank you. I saw Mr. Menard with a hand up, but it's gone down again. Did you want to come in?
It was just to say 9:15 is absolutely better for me because of the previous commitments that I've got in the mornings.
Okay, thank you. Right, so that takes us on then to date of the next meeting. So you've got the special board meeting on the 25th of October, and the next actual board meeting is the 20th of December. Jill, do you want to make comment?
No, Chair, just looking for asking members to note these two dates.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that then, I can confirm that the meeting has now concluded and that the recording will be stopped. And thank you for your interest in this business and your participation in the meeting today.